went in the house and it was just completely normal. Down to a pair of slippers stood near the door where she would have put her boots on and walked out.
It was tea time and the phone went and my dad was on the phone and he said, have you spoken to Claudia in the last couple of days? I said, why? And he said, oh, it's just that she didn't turn up for work yesterday and she didn't turn up to meet Susie last night.
I mean, it was unlike Claudia not to turn up for a drink, but she had done it before. But it wasn't like her to have her phone switched off the next morning, and I just knew instinctively that something was wrong.
Control room.
Hello, my name's Claudia Lawrence. Hi, I'm sorry to call you. I'm very concerned about my daughter.
Yeah.
She lives on her own. I had telephone calls from various friends today saying they haven't been able to contact her.
Fine. And what's your daughter's name?
Claudia.
There's been no contact since Wednesday evening. Phone is not contactable.
Claudia is 35 years old. She's a very happy, sociable person. There's nothing at all to suggest that she had any worries that would make her want to leave. This disappearance is completely and utterly out of character.
I just feel that someone has taken her. That's all. That's the only thing that is really sort of in my mind, is that someone's taken her. What's happened after that, I obviously don't really want to think about.
She's talked about maybe, you know, if she ever decided to move on, she couldn't do it because she loved her friends so much and she loved her life here. So she hasn't just gone somewhere like some people have thought that she has, because she wouldn't. She would have missed us all, just as we miss her now.
Every year, over 200,000 people are reported missing in the UK. Over 99% of cases are quickly resolved. A year on, Claudia Lawrence is not only still missing, there are no substantial clues, no crime scene, and no sightings. Claudia's disappearance remains a mystery.
This was the very first story we ran, and that was ahead of any other media. The first week, we've got stories on the front I mean, there were massive, massive searches throughout the city, sort of along her route to work, around the university, the river as well, was, because normally in York, if someone goes missing, sadly, often they are found in the river. People at homes at night, I know they're all talking about this, because literally everyone's turned detective and got their own theory.
It's going to take two men, isn't it? It's got to be very well organised.
It's perhaps being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
She wouldn't get in a car with somebody she didn't know.
Suspicious. You know, she could be anywhere, really.
Different stories, you know, some people say that she's living abroad.
You know, she'll be in a basement, tied up somewhere. Hopefully, she's still alive.
It's been extraordinary how, over these months, they still haven't got the big clue to find out where she is. And this is what's so baffling, you know, how could somebody disappear out of the blue in this way?
It's disingenuous if I was to say to you this is not a difficult investigation. It is.
Without evidence or strong leads, detectives threw the case open to the nation. The police made a comment on national television that was to turn Claudia's private life into public property.
Areas of Claudia's life that are delicate, to say the least, and definitely complex. Tell us what it is you want to say.
As the investigation has developed, it's apparent that some of Claudia's relationships had an element of complexity and mystery to them. I'm certain that some of those relationships were not known to a family or a friend.
A handful of print journalists ran stories about Claudia's relationships. To this day, the headlines that followed have shaped public perception of Claudia.
The police talked about relationships that Claudia had, but we're talking 12 over a period of 5 years, which for a 35-year-old is really not a lot.
The whole thing's weird when you suddenly, you know, read these things about your sister in the press. It's almost like you're not reading about your sister, you're reading about someone else. I mean, if Claudia was around to read it, she'd be absolutely mortified that all these, you know, that Mum and Dad were reading these sorts of stories about her, because you I mean, it's all been said, hasn't it? But you don't tell your mum and dad everything. And so for them to find out through reading a press article or something is just, it's awful.
With the media, they're making her sound like some call girl, which she isn't, a posh call girl, should we say. But she's not that. She's always been a bubbly person, spoke to anybody. But to make her sound like some sort of call girl and mensch never satisfied, wrong. Claudia wasn't that.
The way that she was treated in the papers that time was like she was a Big Brother contestant who deserved her past raked up. And that's what worried me. I was like, oh no, there's going to be people who are going to believe everything they've read and they're going to judge her exactly on that, and they're wrong, and they're going to lose interest. And it worried me that, and we did lose on Facebook. I watched the numbers go down and I thought, no, this isn't fair.
It was such a mixed bag of reactions, like ranging from I really hope they find it and, you know, it must be awful for the parents and the friends and stuff like that, to she obviously deserved it because she was obviously some kind of slapper, which isn't the case at all. Claudia would shy away from the camera and hated being the centre of attention so much that this would be like her absolute nightmare. Things that, you know, so like irrelevant to helping find her have just been used to sell a 20p newspaper.
The national media have got a particular interest in the story that, and they can pursue the story in a way that we perhaps wouldn't, because we're kind of very much aware of the sensitivities of the family. But at the same time, publicity is publicity. If that's what's needed, somebody out there knows what's happened. Somebody else may know some other clues about this, and the only way that the family and the police are going to get to the public is through media coverage. So you could argue that almost any story is justifiable, in the sense that it could just lead to the resolution of this crime.
Claudia's father, Peter, has worked tirelessly to find his daughter. With over 2,000 media appearances, the past year has been dominated by his campaign, amid constant questions about Claudia's private life.
My daughter that's missing, that's been missing for 11 months now. Thank you.
I'm sorry about your daughter. I hope you find her.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dad's quite sort of quiet and reserved, and then having to put himself, you know, in front of the public like that, I just really felt for him.
To interrupt you, it's my that's missing. We're just giving out this in case anybody knows anything. Thank you. I spoke to Claudia on the Wednesday evening, where she was perfectly normal and making arrangements for the weekend. And the next day she just disappeared without any trace at all. For some reason, she's not with us, and this campaign will go on until she is.
I think it would be incredibly naive of me to think that I knew everything about Claudia. The way that I believed it was that as a group of people, I thought we knew different aspects of her that would come to be a whole.
I wish I'd seen her more than I did. You know, you think you've got all the time in the world and, you know, you'll catch up sooner or later, but then we didn't.
But I have been forced to question do I actually know Claudia? But I think made out to sound like we don't know her.
Claudia's 36th birthday was marked by an awareness day in the centre of York. Organised by her friends, it condensed much of the past year into just a couple of hours.
Obviously, the Claudia that we know, I don't think we'll have, even if Claudia does come back, she'll be a completely different person. It would be a bit naive to think that we'll ever see that Claudia again. though she wasn't aware of her own beauty, she was aware of the attention that she got, and I think she got to the point where she felt it was almost impossible for her to be friends with men without either them having an interest in her in other ways, or people speculating that she was in a relationship with them. She is the victim in all this, and I think it has all been forgotten that that is the case, and that she should be given a bit of dignity rather than having that taken away from her.
Peter, just looking down here, Peter, please.
When we set the balloon, I was quite surprised at my reaction, because, I don't know, just seeing those balloons go up in the air with Claudia's little face on, and not quite knowing where they were going to land. With myself that come March, that's when I need to start moving on. But in my mind, I'm not quite ready to do that.
I always seduce. It tests it in a way. On the other hand, it's a great support to have it there.
I was told that there was a body in the River Ouse back in York. And it was 4 hours travelling back on the train of absolute turmoil before that wasn't Claudia. That was probably about the lowest point in the past 12 months.
On the year anniversary of Claudia's disappearance, Peter made another appeal on BBC's Missing Live.
Good morning, welcome to Missing Live. 200,000 people have disappeared in the past year. Claudia Lawrence is the one that has captured the public imagination, and we'll be talking to her father Peter in just a moment.
That morning, an unexpected new lead was revealed to the public.
We've spoken to somebody who we've previously spoken to a number of times in the investigation, who has now recalled a conversation that they had with Claudia, basically saying that she'd been out a couple of nights before she went missing with somebody who she referred to as a boyfriend. And it probably highlights the benefit of looking back through your mind and seeing what you can remember. Wednesday the 18th of March, completely out of character, the conversations that she'd had with the father before and the arrangements she'd had with her friends.
When I'm not in company, I can just sit and think about things in the past and things with Claudia, and obviously think about what might be happening. And, yeah, it's something you just do all the time. Claudia grew up, obviously, in a small town, going to a very small school with lots of close friends. Had what I would think is quite a good childhood.
We were just like any other sisters when we were growing up. We sort of got into horse riding. Claudia was only about 5 when we started. She just absolutely loved it. She had her first pony called Flash, and he was just like this little bullet and just sort of race off with her. And she was always around mucking him out and riding him and grooming him and everything. Spent hours there with her friends. I try not to think about what's happened. I mean, obviously it's sort of playing on my mind subconsciously because I dream about, you know, someone snatching her or, you know, someone beating her or whatever, you know, awful images that it's too hard to describe really, but they're always her walking walking in the dark or walking to work and something horrible happening to her.
Answer number 34 was late.
At the beginning, it was really, really hard to even laugh with my friends, and it was like if I laughed, I felt instantly guilty for even just having a nice night with them, because she couldn't be there, and she would have loved to have been there.
Answer number 20 was Petula Clyde.
I still call her phone every now and then, and I'll always leave a message, and I end up crying when I call her now.
I think I'd text her and I was upset about something, and just throughout the day she was texting me saying, oh, you know, cheer up and everything will be fine, and, you know, texting me late at night saying, are you feeling any better? And she's just so supportive, and I don't know, it's really, really hard to have lost who was quite an important part of my life, and to not have that support anymore. You know, I do class myself as quite a strong person, and so was she, but you know, when you needed someone, she was always there. Even if she had her own stuff going on, she was just a top friend.
Claudia's disappearance has affected the small, tight-knit community she was raised in.
Because we've known her and she's been part of our life, you feel something's missing in you. And also because we are interconnected with each other, your heart goes out wanting to try and help in any way that you can. And one of the things, immediately, I'm just stood here, and this isn't being done for the television, just look at this window. And this was just there, wasn't it? Missing, Claudia Lawrence, have you seen her, and the telephone number? And it's, without ever even knowing her, people want to do things to try and help to find her. And it was spontaneous.
Just unbelievable. It's something that happens to somebody else, somebody distant, but in this case it's happened to somebody whom I know, so it just strikes home.
Everybody's talking about it. We're just hoping that she's going to turn up.
Somebody out there knows what's happened to this girl and where she is. She was a Malton girl, and we're all missing her desperately.
We pray for the ongoing search for Claudia. We give thanks for the efforts of family and friends to raise and sustain an awareness of the mystery of her disappearance.
In late March, police conducted a field search just yards from the university where Claudia worked.
Well, I think the first thing to say is it's obviously after over a year, it's very encouraging. Obviously, the police are still physically searching as well as doing all the work they're doing in the back room on the computers and interviewing people. So, in a sense, you think, well, it's worth doing because this information is coming in, and that's the way investigations go, and this is the way this one's gone, and there's no easy answer to it.
After 4 days' work, on land ploughed at least twice in the last year, it led to nothing.
I must admit they're scarce resources, and there are other investigations that need them skills. So as long as there's a determined and there's a positive line of inquiry to pursue, we will do so.
If it carries on for, you know, another 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that's not ideal because, you know, we're desperate to know what's happened to her. If we found out that something awful has happened to her, then we don't want to find that out either because you don't want to find, you know, something awful has happened to someone that you care for. And The only, you know, what we're still hoping is that she turns up safe and well. But even if she does turn up safe and well, then where's she been for the last 12 months? This is always going to be with us, you know, this last 12 months or however long it carries on for. It's always going to be part of our lives.
Claudia came up with the name Spinster Sisters, and we dropped the spinster and just left it as sisters. So we just always called each other sister. Every now and then we called each other Sledge because of Sister Sledge and stuff. But I never referred to Claudia as Claudia. It was always sister, and sometimes Sledge. At which point she'd text me back sometimes and say, "I am not a sledge." And I'd do the same, but mostly it was sister.
Someone has created this, you know, and it's just so sad. And it's just a real tragedy that for her and her family and for us that it's happened. And like I said before, I would just give anything for it to come to an end.
I may be proved wrong. I just feel that I would have felt something different inside me if she'd been killed. It's the not knowing that's difficult. You're always wondering. You just hope it doesn't go on forever.
If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this programme, there's information available at channel4.com. First Cut.